Alright, what's going on, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Connor on Shane. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of stuff that has to do with Bitcoin today. There's just a lot of stuff to be very bullish on in the current market here. I'm going to bring up just a couple charts. Nothing crazy, but just to bring this stuff to your attention, just to give you guys another outlook and some more insight of just, other charts in the market right now. So, first thing I want to bring up, obviously the Bitcoin chart. I don't want to make this like a crazy long video here, but we've been trending. We've been in technically, if you want to consider this a range, whoa, not like that. If you want to consider this some sort of range over the last, maybe couple of weeks, if this bounces in between this, you could call this a range here for what it is. But I like to see what happens with this. It's just been bouncing around in between 73 to 60K now for a little while. I feel like we're kind of just waiting for a pivotal moment to happen for Bitcoin. As you can see, we got minimal volume going on, which usually when we see volume like this, very minimal, this usually will go into some sort of heavy move, whether it's the upside or some sort of heavy move that just, eventually just cracks down and just, continues down like that. So we really could see either way with this one. It's just going to be a waiting game, just seeing what happens. Even right here, if this doesn't hold, if this continues to drop, if this breaks below, it's going to retest. Probably bounce around and probably continue down. But, if we could start getting some momentum push to the upside, we probably can see this continue up. So, Bitcoin's looking pretty good for what it is. It's holding up at current levels. But I want to bring up just the Bitcoin dominance chart on the weekly itself. So this one I've never really talked about too much on the channel at all. We got the Bitcoin dominance, and this chart may look very odd to a lot of you people if you're not familiar with the Bitcoin dominance chart, if you've never seen it before. But basically what this is kind of saying is, when you got Bitcoin dominance is very prominent when, the bull market is in full effect, when Bitcoin is actually trending to the upside. But when it comes to alts and alt season, in a bull market, Bitcoin's dominance will end up drastically dropping because a lot of people, in the last cycle, what everyone was doing was obviously they would buy Bitcoin, they'd be in Bitcoin, but everyone would start rotating from Bitcoin into other altcoins. And what that would do is it would bring every other altcoin, the market cap of the entire market outside of Bitcoin, it would bring that up. And it would bring the entire Bitcoin, basically dominance of Bitcoin, down very dramatically, very quickly. Like in this 2017 cycle, Bitcoin was sitting at 95%. It went all the way down to 36%. Mainly because the entire crypto market cap itself back in 2017 was still very small. And then the last cycle in 2020 into 2021, it was also pulled something similar, by any means not even remotely close to something like this, but it did pull the same exact thing. The Bitcoin dominance eventually did drop, and altcoins ended up skyrocketing at some point. Based on the chart here, from January of 2021 into May and June, that is when the Bitcoin dominance started to drop very drastically, which again, that just indicates that alts, or the flow into altcoins was very heavy right there, and that's basically when alts started to run. And what I wanted to bring up today though is looking at the chart here, we got this line here, basically just a very simple trend line, right? But we connected it just from up here to the previous cycle when it wicked up here, came back down. But as you can see, price today is sitting around 53% in dominance now. And if we zoom in a little bit, this is kind of at a pivotal point. I'm not gonna lie, in the market right now, we got, my bad, I'm actually just like looking even closer at this. But so yeah, if we zoom in, we're right on this, if you want to call it a support or, a resistance. But, I mean, in this case, it's a resistance because it's going down. But what we've seen in previous cycles, obviously, is when it hits this line, it starts to dump drastically. But we are at this point right now, and, we're still not seeing any major movement yet. So it's definitely pretty interesting because I think that at some point, fairly soon, in my opinion, there should be at least some sort of indication of what will happen. I'm not saying that, because it's on this trend line, it's next week it's going to dump. Like, nothing like that. But this could be an indication that this is at some sort of important pivotal point for the Bitcoin dominance, to actually start showing and breaking out either to the upside or the downside here, indicating whether, some sort of alt season may, start, or just in general, based on the chart, the Bitcoin dominance will start dropping, if it continues to dump, if it drops, and then if previous support here, is broken, turned into resistance, and it starts going down, we could see heavy alt season kick into gear. It's interesting because, like I said, we're at this moment here. This could blow right through this, in the other way. Bitcoin dominance could, trend up for a little while. It could even hit like a minor support or minor resistance area, maybe like here. Worst case, trends up through this, but then eventually, starts to dump here. But bottom line, I think we're getting to a really good point where the charts do look good. And with this one, I just wanted to show some strength, kind of curious to see it where this is going to be. This is on a weekly chart, so it does take a long time for this stuff to play out. But, it's important to know that this is at a key factor, or a key area rather. And I'd like to just see what happens within the next month. I think it's going to be a deciding factor of, if this really wants to just start dumping, start dropping, and if alts really want to start like kicking into high gear. Another thing too, which is interesting, is we got the ETH Bitcoin chart. This is very similar to Bitcoin dominance, but I mean it's somewhat similar, but ETH to Bitcoin. This is basically the dominance of ETH versus Bitcoin at different times in different cycles, stemming all the way back to 2015 here. But obviously in 2017 cycle, this is when altcoins went crazy, because this is Ethereum to Bitcoin. So what this is tracking the price of Ethereum to Bitcoin. So when Ethereum is moving up, the price of Bitcoin is going down here. So this is, I'm trying to explain this in a way so you guys know, because a lot of people might think it's the other way around. But bottom line, like when Ethereum really starts to kick into high gear, that's when you see this really start to pump, and alts. So, that happened in 2017, 2021, similar thing happened, the ETH dominance basically, just pushed heavily, way over Bitcoin's dominance here. And for this cycle that we're in right now, this is kind of what we're waiting for here. We do want to see something similar at some point for Ethereum. But right now it is definitely sitting at a heavy support. But as you can see, it looks like the momentum is, pretty strong to the downside, I have to say. But this is a very odd cycle in comparison to the last cycles. We still are early in a sense, time frame wise, in comparison to the last cycles. We are still less than a month away from the halving. The halving has not even hit yet. It's only March, And in comparison, if we were time tracking just like the other cycles, for us to see the movement in Bitcoin that we've had in the last 4 to 5 months, that really should have happened in probably July or August, maybe September of this year. Like that's how many months ahead of schedule like all this stuff has been. And obviously, like, you guys should know why, just with the ETFs and a lot of different news coming out with it. And it's so interesting to see. But bottom line, this could be why over time, as this cycle plays out, this might be skewed. This data might look a little different, maybe after the cycle when we all look back, because the cycle is a little bit different than the previous ones. But, just based on the past cycles, that's kind of the best that we got as far as looking into previous data to predict, a future outcome or a potential outcome, right? But looking at it here, it is on a heavy support, but momentum is very heavy to the downside, very strong. But what this is indicating basically is that Bitcoin is still kind of leading the charge right now. There's still, at least in comparison from Bitcoin to ETH, Bitcoin is still absolute king right now. And it doesn't look like all coins are going to have that huge moment yet until we start to see, pretty major moves to the upside here for the ETH and Bitcoin chart. But the reason why I want to bring this up is because this is on a support. Weekly is not even closed yet. We got about a day, 2 days. If this can kind of hold this level, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks out, if this can wick, not close below, and continue to hold, potentially we could see a bounce here. This could be a pivotal moment as well. But it's just something to watch. But also, too, well, at least with the ETH to Bitcoin, that's what I wanted to bring up here. But the Sol to Bitcoin. This is what's very interesting to me. Because I feel like I don't see too many people talking about this. Is the Solana to Bitcoin chart. This was obviously in the last cycle, from January 2021 all the way to September, October, November. Solana just, the dominance, in comparison to Bitcoin, Solana's dominance just ran up all the way. And what kind of a time frame was that? Say January to, let's just say like while it was even up here. 336 days. So basically, 11 months, close to a year. We're seeing another run. Let's say from September, and let's extend it 336 days. So that would put us into August of 2024, which I'd be curious to see if, like, what happens with this. But bottom line, the reason why I'm bringing this up too is because this, in my opinion, is showing way higher strength in comparison to Bitcoin than Ethereum is. And this is just based on the data. It's just, in my opinion, I think also too because Solana is a lot newer. It is smaller in market cap still in comparison to Ethereum. But this is showing just heavy strength in Solana, whether the ecosystem or just the token alone, whatever you want to classify it as. This is showing heavy strength to Bitcoin right now, because we're seeing a coin smaller in market cap than Ethereum here, but the Ethereum to Bitcoin just has not done anything. We should be seeing the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart really pushing up here, but the Solana to Bitcoin chart has been going crazy. I think, which is a big reason why Solana meme coins, Solana ecosystem has been going wild for so long now. Because it's just, the dominance has just been going up like crazy. I just wanted to bring some of this stuff up because it's interesting, because I actually think Solana is going to have an incredible bull run, this bull run. And I personally am still 100% an ETH maxi. You know, obviously I love Bitcoin, I love ETH. And I'm talking about the ecosystems, like I'm talking about Bitcoin as in Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. I love Ethereum, like Ethereum tokens. Personally, more than Solana. But I mean, just based on the data, seeing this stuff, it's, this is just, bottom line, this is just showing sheer strength from Solana, since, basically the beginning of this bull run, if you want to call it, back in September, October. The strength has just been incredible. And I would just be curious to see how this plays out. It's really interesting because I'm just thinking, I would like to see if it can pull something like the ETH Bitcoin chart did, maybe in its last cycle here. Because again, this is when Ethereum was a little bit smaller in market cap too. But at the same time, what would be different is this again, this ETH to Bitcoin also was when Bitcoin was a lot smaller in market cap too. So, it's not going to be a full comparison. I can't say, Bitcoin or the ETH Bitcoin here is going to be similar to the Sol Bitcoin this cycle, because Bitcoin here was a lot smaller in market cap than it was, or than it will be if you compare it to the cycle now. But as far as for some of this information, that's mainly what I got for you today. I just wanted to bring some of this stuff to light. Looking at the total market cap, you just check this real quick too. But yeah, just looking at the total market cap, excluding the top 10 cryptos, it's about 300 billion. Personally, I have targets of, I'd say close to $1 trillion for altcoins overall. Again, this is all altcoins outside of the top 10. If we do a total, because the crypto market right now is at 2.5 trillion in market cap. Market cap wise, we're still kind of under all-time highs for the entire market cap in crypto, if you look at the last cycle. But, a lot of people are predicting crazy heights for alts. I personally would not be surprised to see, I would say a minimum at least, 4 to 5 trillion, maybe 6 trillion, I think would be a very safe bet to see for the rest of the bull run here, at least until we're going into 2024, towards the end, into early 2025. I don't know much later about that. I don't know how long the cycle is going to actually last. I personally don't think it's going to be this long-term super cycle. I mean, it might in the grand scheme of things, but I still believe no matter what, there's going to be a huge blow off top. Price will correct at some point. Maybe because of the ETFs and people eventually realize the value in Bitcoin long term, maybe it's just this doesn't dip, this bad, and it doesn't consolidate next cycle for this long, right? Maybe like I said, we still have a heavy blow off top at some point. We have a huge dip gets bought up, but it slowly eventually continues to just trend up. Something like that. Something like that I would not be surprised to see. The next bear market is just not that bad, in another way to put it, because people want to buy Bitcoin. After this cycle, people are going to want to buy Bitcoin at cheaper prices, and it's not going to last that way forever, right? So just random thought dump here, just throwing a bunch of Bitcoin data at you guys. Just wanted to drop another video, get some stuff out, because this stuff is just interesting. I was watching the charts today, just looking at this stuff, and it's important. I think you guys just at least keep in the back of your head some of this stuff. So that's what I got for you today. I got a lot more altcoin videos dropping. I'm going to be dropping videos on specific coins too. Still got runes stuff coming out very soon, probably on April 1st, potentially. I've been kind of waiting for that. So that's what I got for you guys today. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.